who keeps telling people they're dolphins in Aberdeen. Like, yeah, it's me. Do you want to come and see them now? They're in the harbour all the time, you know, so things have changed, and now everybody can hear me. Sorry. So things have changed, and there's actually quite a lot of positive changes have happened over that time. One or two little case studies I'll go into as we're going through, but the main thrust of this talk is about effective communication and some of the tools that we're trying to use to get information out there, and a few little sort of looks at ways it's done elsewhere. How many of you have heard of East Grampian Coastal Partnership? Right, we need to work harder, don't we? Okay. If you have heard of us, it's probably because of two of my colleagues. One of them you'll probably be getting to know more of, Lauren Dunkley, who spends a great deal of time, who has spent a great deal of time taking right. Taking beaches that look like this. So this is one of our two really nasty beaches in the area. This is Kernbold. And this is 9 o'clock in the morning. And after that, we deployed a large number of people, volunteers, and used some fairly big plant to move the stuff around. And at 1 o'clock, it looked like that. If only everything was so simple. So we've now removed, we must be getting up to 140 tons of plastic from beaches in the area. And generally fairly large pieces of plastic before they turn into smaller and smaller bits. So our work on turning the plastic tide is probably what we're best known for at the moment. We're also doing a great deal around trying to inform and interest, something we've done for a very long time, from things like green tourism to our work with things like TechFest. So each year I go and basically spend a week talking to children, and the first year I did it, I will admit to falling asleep at the steering wheel as I'm at the traffic lights on the way out. It is quite exhausting, but it is also good fun. And I learned a lot, which kind of changed the way I thought about some things and made some fairly large decisions for me. So this is some of the stuff we pick up. These are annoying. These are the Show of 606 Blue Glove, advertised as the glove of the fishing industry. Our record for those in 1 kilometre of beach is 557. Even more depressing are those things at the other side. They're oil filters from vessels. Now, if you think to your car, do you change the filters on your car while you're driving? It would be a rather stupid thing to do. They've been changed in port and then taken out to sea and dumped. The ports have free reception facilities for those filters. So one of the things we've done, and I've done, is actually been part of we have a stall at the Skipper Expo. And we asked lots and lots of fishermen, why are we getting oil filters and blue gloves? And I have to say, we're not seeing so many of them. We've done this, we did a trick before. We used to get at this same beach, Kernbold, oil drums. So we went into a lot of the suppliers and said, you know, these barcodes on them, what can we find out from them? And the answer came back, nothing. But we didn't see any more oil drums. So we found out nothing. They didn't. We've also got another big project we've been doing on the Discover Maps, which is a few for you to have a look around here. These are masses of information, again, aimed at trying to get the public interested in our coastline, more knowledgeable, enjoying the coast. If you enjoy it and actually get out there, you're more likely to look after it. This is some of the examples that we've given. So it's vast amounts of things like what the different vessels do that you're seeing at the harbour, what the different types of cetaceans are, and not sort of if you saw them in a photo of them in the air, but actually when you see them doing that and then disappearing. This is something we've done. We got them sponsored. If anybody wants to buy them, we do sell them. So just in case. We worked with the Foyer, a local social work project, to get the designs done. And again, it's all part of this communication thing. We also decided we wanted to work on State of the Coast, partly inspired by TechFest, because part of that I did a presentation, What Colour is Planet Earth? And it was working with kids, trying to sort of show them all the different things we got from the sea. And there's a few things came up there that really shocked me, and really positively. So the first thing is, great statistic, sorry, horrific statistic. There was once a minke whale found on the coast. It was actually found on the Belgian coast with 800 grams of plastic bags in its stomach, which was absolutely appalling. So we decided to show the kids what 800 grams of plastic bags look like, the sort of typical shopping bag. So I went to that cupboard in my house where, remember where we all used to stuff them? Some of you may have been good enough not to have that exploding cupboard, but I wasn't. So I went to that cupboard and found it was bare. So I asked a few other people, can I get some shopping bags? You know, the disposable ones? No. They disappeared about the same age those children were born. We did get a few and realised on the beaches we're not seeing them. So actually, you know, we did something, you know, something happened. I also decided to talk about renewable energy, and I'm seriously embarrassed by this one. I looked at the website to see what percentage renewable. I thought this is going to be a great story. Well, it must be at like 40, 50% by now, and came back with, wait a minute, today we're on 97. Oh, really? And I've got an electric car out there because of that discovery, because I suddenly realized, wait a minute, we are actually doing this. And but it's not just for this. Our aim has now gone more into regional marine planning. And if we're going to be doing planning for the future, we need to know what the facts are. In fact, one of the first things we did as an organization is to come up with the original State of the Coast report. Because we need to communicate with people, and there's a few people I had in mind. Some of you may have seen this one. This is Jane. Jane is based on a real person, runs the sort of admin side of the family business. The real one was heating engineer. Loves the dogs, loves walking on the coast, gardening, but also leads one of the major political parties in the council and has the job of being an expert making major decisions on a vast range of subjects. So trying to get information to people like this that's quick, easy, so that they can start making decisions. Mike, very, very well respected in the field of agriculture, well respected in his field. I had to go for that one, didn't I? Suddenly also been given the job of dealing with fishing. Suddenly just a little extra one to put on your plate. So you've got something to do with outside, so you can also make decisions on what happens. Bill, student, working on his dissertation in tourism in Aberdeen, and also trying to argue with his dad about some of the absolute rubbish that's coming about. Providing information for people, because at the moment, a lot of people are getting stuff from, do people recognise this? Has anybody seen this? I bet somebody's given you some of the things that come from this clip. Have a look at it. This is from a program called Landman. And I didn't know anything about this until I was getting bombarded by a neighbour at one of the village barbecues, giving me all these facts about how wind turbines never use the amount of energy that's actually made into production of them, that they used vast amounts of concrete. And don't you know that they're made of, I was thinking, where is this rubbish coming from? Landman. This is supposed to be a scene where she's supposed to be a lawyer, big city intelligent person who's never seen a windmill and is asking what a windmill is. And he's basically explaining a load of absolute. The actual figure for a wind turbine is the energy is recouped in about 6 months to a year. So have a look at this clip. At some point, you will get somebody quoting this clip to you. I promise you, if they know you're interested in anything to do with climate change, I promise you. So This is something we've been doing for a long time. Our first State of the Coast report was done in 2009. And it was unusual for a state of report. Most of the time you get a state of report, they tend to be state of the environment report. This was social, economic, and environment. So the three pillars of sustainability. Strangely, the weakest bit of this was the environment, because we knew it was what people expected, and the social and the economic side, they do all come together. And it was your typical sort of fairly thick document. And it was your typical fairly thick document that became out of date on the day that we published it. We then had an opportunity, a terrible project. Unfortunately, I can't make it to the pub because I could bore you to death on this project. But anyway, I got to go to the Balearics, and they did their state of the report. And I have to say, it's beautiful. So theirs is very much based around quite a lot of information on a few subjects. Just also to give you a little factor on this one, when we went over there and saw this, they have a photographic competition. So they get people to take photos of the undersea environment and send them in. It's got a bigger budget than EGCP, including the picking up the 130 tons. Yeah, so this is what effectively a couple of 100,000 on this sort of report can do. We didn't have that, so we had to come up with something ourselves. So what we've got is the State of the East Grampian Coast website, stateofthecoast.scot. And this site is covering the area in pink, basically. So because of the fact that we've still got the major sort of social element, the best way to get social data is census. Census is divided by wards. So we had to go and pick which wards we wanted to include in it to try and represent the coast, which is why we've got such a strange wiggly line. And the idea is to cover as many subjects as possible, but in a really, and by subjects, we're talking really sort of discrete, so one piece of data. But to do them in a sort of fairly quick way to get around. So this is our climate change section. It includes, so this is a typical one. So this is renewable electricity production. Keep thinking I'm quoting Pink Floyd, but just the basic facts. This is where it hurts. So it's the basic facts, the key bits of visual information that you need to try and understand it. So we've got the various tables. We've then got the really important bits. So where you go to find more information. So we've given you the basics. This is where you can find the detail. And then below this, we have the really important bit was when it was last updated. Each of these spreadsheets is backed up. Sorry, each of these web pages is backed up by a spreadsheet. And that's got the text on it, and effectively it's got the tables that we've used. The idea being that when a new piece of data comes out, we can just add an extra column to the table, redo the graph, stick it on the website. So it should be an iterative process that keeps going, so it doesn't run out. Should be. There's me at the moment, which we'll come back to a little bit later on. The other thing that's important here is who's updated it. So we want these to be reviewed. Now, if you look at this and you see one on cetaceans and it's been done by and reviewed by Ian Hay, and you look at one that's been done on healthy life expectancy and it's been done and reviewed by Ian Hay, and you do one that looks at climate change and it's been done and reviewed by Ian Hay, I'm either really good or I'm kind of winging it. So what I need is this has been reviewed by the actual experts in this field who are willing to say, yeah, that looks all right, and put their name to it or suggest anything that needs changing. We have 240 of these sheets. Each one of them, every one of them has a have we messed up box at the bottom. So if you find something that's wrong, you put that, send it to us. We then co-opt you to rewrite it and put your name at the bottom of it is kind of the idea. Just to give you an idea, those 240 sheets, we managed to get some money. So we had a budget of £20,000 roughly to do that work, of which EGCP put in half. And the way we managed to do it is by having some absolutely brilliant students who worked with us on the project. They were paid because, you know, it should be employing people on the basis of they're good at doing their job rather than parents can support them while they go and work for somebody else for free. So they were paid brilliant. If anybody wants to buy a map, I'll tell you which ones you should be trying to track down and employ straight away, because it says at least 3 of them are just incredible. They're embarrassingly good. We also decided to have a look at some of the information that we spotted fairly quickly was missing. You see, a few years ago, you might have noticed these things called lockdowns. It was in the news, you'll have spotted it. And what happened was everybody jumped into the sea and started swimming at all times of the year and things like this. But nobody really kind of provided them with facilities for doing that. So it's other than dry roads. So we did some work trying to fill in this gap of working out who was using the sea, because we've got the strange situation at the moment where we monitor the seas for the pollution levels during the summer, and as many people are swimming in January generally as there are in the summer. So why are we only monitoring for how safe it is in the middle of the year? So we wanted to try and back this one up. So we actually did a survey of about 200 people. Quite a different range of people, different ages, but tended to be a bit sort of older that responded. And if you actually go to the beach, we did confirm a couple of things, because ladies seem to have discovered the water more than men have. We seem to be a bit wimping out on this bloke. It seems to be, we're not quite tough enough for this. But yeah, so it's trying to work out this so that we could then use that to argue that we need to be looking at things like bathing water quality all year round. So where next? Well, we've got another couple of funding bids in, modest ones, but we're looking to add a who's who section. So effectively, what organisations are responsible for what activities, so that if somebody wants to find out about X, Y, Z, we can point them in the direction. A legal and policy section is something we'd like to add to it, so that you can get that sort of basics of what each of the laws mean, and potentially links into the who's who, so that you can find out who you can talk to if there's a problem or who you can find information on. This is something that we want to have in the future. This came from a workshop we did. Added pressures section. So what are the things that are actually causing the issues on the coast? Produce a summary document for the public. So try and produce something that's nicely designed, good infographics that kind of explain things. You know, it's like some of the little things we're trying to get across to people. At the moment, with a lot of the cars, most of the cars, somebody has to go and dig a great big hole, then bring the stuff up, use a lot of the stuff that dug up to refine it, to then put it on a boat, which accounts for what, about a third of all vessel movements, to transport it somewhere else, where it then goes into another vehicle that uses some of that to take it to a petrol station, then stand there, as opposed to one of those does that while I'm asleep, it goes into the car, and then in the morning I drive to Glasgow. That sounds logical and easy, doesn't it? And people aren't quite getting that yet. I don't think a lot of people aren't. You know, it's just common sense to. God, I hate common sense. Nobody ever uses that term as any. I'm sorry, but also to publicize the website. There's no point doing this even on the limited budget we had if nobody looks at it. So we need to try and get it there. I'm also quite keen. I noticed nowadays with this AI thing that suddenly appeared everywhere, which seems to me just to be a search engine search that rewrites things to make sure it's rewriting our stuff or the correct stuff. We've also put in another application to try and get in an education officer who can work with the public and with schools. We used to do a lot more beach cleans with schools. However, budgets being what they are, trying to get kids to beaches can be a tough issue. So, and it tends to be the ones that tend to be the wealthier areas that can afford to send the kids to the beaches on the buses and that. So we're trying to get some money for buses to bring people over and to produce some more guides. So roughly, lastly, we need you, because remember that bit at the bottom of the form? There's a lot of my name on it. There's the interns that we had that were brilliant. There's a lot of their names as well. But again, what we'd like to try and get is some of the people who, quite frankly, understood those last presentations to come and actually say, yeah, this looks right. I kind of understood the presentation, but you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect everybody to be able to understand them. So it would be good to get some more people's names at the bottom of these. And as I say, if you find things that are wrong, fantastic, because we want to find the things that are wrong and correct them. There's no skin off my back if you find things that are wrong, especially if you're willing to tell us what the right answer is, rather than, you know, we don't want you playing battleships and just saying one of the forms is wrong. So we do need your help with that. And also anything that's missing as well. Some of the things that have been talked about this morning, we don't have. Sorry, this morning. It's been a long day. It's really not tomorrow yet. Anyway, so quite a lot of the things that we've just had in the last presentations, we don't have. So trying to get more information on there. And again, I can research the subject and try and turn this into something. Or somebody can say, all right, here's 3 paragraphs. And it is by the information sheets. If you're really getting on a roll, you can produce 2 or 3 an hour, even when you're trying to research them and do this. So if you've got somebody who really knows what they're talking about, you could distill it send me a voice note saying what should be on it, and we can get it put up. We do have the maps available. Please come out on our beach cleans. If you know anybody who'd be interested in selling the maps for us, that'd be great as well, because somebody has to pay for this. But generally that's me. So thank you very much.